you're remembering Pokémon wrong. The thing about Pokémon that drives me crazy is the measurements of some of these Pokémon make no f***ing sense at all.
Huh?
Let me break it down for you, Mark. Like, I'm sure when we see Charizard in our heads, we picture something along the lines of this. A 15-foot dragon that towers over all of humanity. But the reality is, homeboy over here is only 5'7"
Huh?
How is this even possible? I am 5'11" and I refuse to accept that I am 4 inches taller than Charizard.
Bruh.
Another perspective, Luffy from One Piece is literally the same height as Charizard.
What?
And he's basically a short king. When you take Big Man Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard and put them next to each other, this is what most of us think it looks like. At least I did when I played the Game Boy games as a kid. But no! This is what it actually looks like.
What?
How is Venusaur the biggest one out of these? When you look at Venusaur in the Pokemon games, he's just a fatter version of Bulbasaur. But motherfucker is actually huge, clocking in at 6'7".
Damn.
We need to draft Venusaur in the NBA like today. Dude would be dunking on everybody. And Blastoise, who I always thought was humongous, is only 5'3", bro.
Huh?
Blastoise is the same height as my wife. And to me, she's short as like Santa's helper. My mind cannot wrap around that. Like, every time I look at my wife now, I'm just gonna think, yep, that's Blastoise. When beforehand, I'd imagine that f***ing tortoise to be like 8 feet tall. Let's take a look at some other Pokemon right now. This is Furet.
Okay.
When I saw Furet on the Pokemon games back in the day, I thought, hey, a ferret. Like just a ferret with the name Furet, like the size of my shoe or something. But a Furet? Those things are actually 5 feet and 11 inches, okay? That's the same height as me.
Damn.
Could you imagine seeing a 6-foot ferret walking around? So you're trying to tell me that this fuzzball is taller than Charizard?
No way.
So it's not like this. It's like this? This is the Furet next to Blastoise, which is literally me and my wife next to each other. By the way, these heights aren't estimated by fans, okay? These are straight out of the Pokédex, my guy. So they are 100% canon. This one might be the craziest in my opinion, though. Take a look at these two Pokemon. Salamence, the sick-ass dragon that in my head would stand at like 15 feet tall. And Dunsparce, the ugly bug which I always thought was the size of a bug. This is how I think they'd look side by side. But guess what?
What?
They're both the same size at 5'11".
What?
Who at the Pokemon headquarters is making the dragons the height to where I'd look down on them and making the bugs and rodents the size of SUVs? At least Sinistea is 4 inches, a teacup that's the size of a teacup.
Wow.
At this point, I would have thought Sinistea would have been the size to hold half of the Pacific Ocean. I'm sorry, but the Pokemon we grew up with is a lie. Do you guys know any other crazy Pokemon sizes?